years as an educator. Unlock What's Inside You, Incorporated, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization serving women impacted by psychological incarceration due to domestic abuse and serving incarcerated young men and their children in South Carolina. Our mission: strengthen, empower, and advance through business development, workforce development, and outreach. Our mission, our vision: unlock minds, change lives, and all things business. Our boards of directors: President Marette Calhoun, Treasurer Cora Gillette, Secretary Dr. Sandy Sanders, have 40-plus years of combined experience in business, leadership, and professional development. Join us to fight against psychological incarceration. Come and join the Unlock What's Inside You movement to help provide services, training, resources to women as we fight against domestic abuse. Revealed its link to heart disease in America. Let's connect. Email unlockwhatsinsideyou@gmail.com.
Welcome to Unlock What's Inside You, our community forum podcast. I am your host, Dr. Doreen Lettsome Reid, and we have our amazing special guest here, David Jones. Welcome, David, to Unlock What's Inside You community forum podcast.
Thank you for having you this evening.
Yes, absolutely. We are so excited to have you, our viewing audience, to be engaged with us. Go ahead and drop it in the chat where you're from, where you're listening from. We thank you for joining the Unlock What's Inside You movement to fight against psychological incarceration. Our nonprofit organization, Unlock What's Inside You Incorporated, actually serves women impacted by psychological incarceration due to domestic abuse, which is directly related to heart disease. We also serve young men that are physically incarcerated and their children throughout the state of South Carolina. So we appreciate you and we welcome you to the fight against psychological incarceration. We also ask that you go to our website and learn more and become more aware, get educated, and decide today how you can be your own self-advocate by visiting our website, www.unlockwhatsinsideyou.com, and make sure you click on the Liberation Project Partnership so that you can begin to join the fight and become the Liberation Project Partnership. We appreciate you so much. Now, today's topic is really, David, you are a business owner. You've been in business for a very long time. So go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your business and where you're located. And let's just start the conversation there.
Well, our agency is the Master's Choice Incorporated. We're here based out of Florence, opening another office in Columbia pretty soon. For 24 years, our ministry has been serving people through the financial and the insurance industry, just mainly through education. We went independent in 2000, actually 2001. So now we work for our clients. We make sure they get matched up with the right thing for them. That way, there's no, we just basically just make sure that the company is never considered. It's always the client first. But like I said, we do have a large base, especially in South Carolina and some other nearby states.
David, you were also talking to us about expanding to Columbia and that you've been established in Florence, South Carolina for quite some time. And I just wanted to point out the connection between psychological incarceration due to domestic abuse. Now, we know that 1 in 4 women are directly impacted, which equates to 2.2 million women. Out of that 2.2 million women, 51% will actually have a result of heart disease. Now, you live in the Florence, South Carolina area. Were you aware that 42% of all U.S. businesses are owned by women? And there in Florence, we actually have about 35.13 African American females that are actually business owners right there in Florence. Were you aware of those numbers?
No, it was not. Good
So
to know.
it is kind of staggering that it really hits home, because out of the 35.13 African American women that are small business owners, 1 in 4 of those are directly impacted by heart disease. 1 in 4 are actually, directly impacted by psychological incarceration due to domestic abuse. And so this is where we get all of these numbers coming in from having $1.8 billion loss of productivity in the workforce, productivity for employers, as well as it impacts the employees. So you want to speak to that a little bit. I know you said you weren't aware of those numbers, but I wanted to break that down for the viewers right where you are, because you're in Florence. So, we have a lot of the new expansion with downtown Florence. And right there, downtown Florence, there are many small business owners, and most of them are women. And so, out of that number that we've just talked about, 1 in 4 of those female business owners are directly impacted by psychological incarceration. And we already talked about the African American population, because African American women rank the highest that deal and are impacted with psychological incarceration. Up to 35.13 of these young ladies are actually small business owners. And so now we also have over $1.8 billion lost in productivity due to this psychological incarceration. What would you like to say about that?
Well, I know we discussed earlier that I do a lot of corporate wellness programs, and one of the things that we discussed that a wellness program, a comprehensive program would help control is a term we call presenteeism. Everybody knows about absenteeism. If they don't come into work, whatever, but what you really got to worry about is the one that shows up. They come to work, they drive your vehicles, they operate your equipment, they do whatever the job entails. But the accidents that come from it, the lost productivity because their mind is not here. They're present, but their mind is in a courtroom or in a domestic violence situation or a bankruptcy or just so many other different places that they're, like you say, they're incarcerated mainly because they can't concentrate on the task at hand. That translates into, again, you've already seen the numbers, given the numbers on the lost productivity, but it goes beyond that. Then you got to worry about the health, the medical claims, the heart disease. It causes the insurance premiums to go up for the health insurance. Then you got workers' comp because they're getting hurt because of the not paying attention and things at work. So it's a mushroom effect that just keeps going and just blowing up on itself. And something's got to be done. And like I said, the having advocacy programs like this and other mental health rescues, I guess you could call them, mental health outlets where they can get some help, especially that's paid for, because a lot of times they won't seek help if it's expensive. But now that it's you can get some stuff that's paid for, it really does make a huge difference. And then you get that person mentally whole, and they become they have a better quality of life, and they become a much better employee.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you pointed out about the health and wellness programs, because you work in the corporate field. You're providing these insurance plans, you're providing all of this guidance to those corporate clients that you have. Now, what Unlock What's Inside You, our nonprofit organization, we can come alongside those corporate agencies and corporate companies, because we have our own health and wellness program, which is called Confident Woman Incubator, which allows specific health care for women to unlock what's inside you. Now, what you're referring to, and I'm going to speak in only towards the women right now, what you're speaking of, and I'm going to only speak about psychological incarceration due to domestic abuse. What you're referring to is often called trauma brain, because the trauma that this woman is going through, she really doesn't even understand what's happening. Because psychological incarceration is so subtle, it actually begins to bend and twist you mentally and emotionally. That is the job of the intimate partner. He is using coercion and manipulative tactics such as gaslighting to actually warp and twist your reality. And he does this over time. And many intimate partners are so subtle, they actually begin to groom the woman at a very early age stage in the relationship, and she's not aware because he's appearing so charming or appearing so kind. Well, he has a six-figure job, he drives a Mercedes, he just seems to be the perfect one. I found my soulmate. Until maybe a year, 2 or 3 years into the relationship, not even longer than that, she begins to realize something is wrong, but I just can't put my finger on it. So by this time, she's already working, has children, going to church, doing all of these things. And she really can't articulate, Mr. Jones, exactly what's happening. But as you just said, she continues to show up to work because if I don't work, I don't eat. And then I have children. And then I have all these other barriers if I don't work. But that's where we as a nonprofit organization, Unlock What's Inside You Incorporated, can come alongside that woman and help her get aware of what's happening. That's the first step, Mr. Jones. I really want to stress that. That is the first level of defense, because psychological incarceration is very, very subtle. It is not something that you can put your finger on and say, this is happening. Even right there in Florence, we've had multiple homicide victims go to the police, request, a restraining order, but their cases were dismissed because of lack of evidence. However, in the state of Connecticut, we have Jennifer's Law. Jennifer's Law came about because Jennifer was brutally murdered and her 3 children were brutally murdered by her husband. Yet multiple times, and let me say that again, multiple times she went to the police for help, but she couldn't put her finger on how to describe what was happening. She didn't know the word coercion or manipulative. She didn't know how to articulate that to the police, and therefore, as a result, they were murdered. However, because of this, Jennifer's Law has now been adopted by the state of Connecticut, as well as 2 other states. And so that's something that our organization is looking into, actually seeing if we can advocate for that to come to South Carolina, because when women are going for help, as you've just mentioned, it's very difficult for them to work and really articulate to authorities what's happening to them. And then it trickles down to their workplace. And then we have other issues that occur. What would you say about that? Were you aware of Jennifer's Law?
No, it was not. No, it's good to know that that's available.
Well, we don't have it yet in South Carolina. It's only available in the state of Connecticut and 2 other states. Our organization is going to be advocating to see if we can adopt Jennifer's Law here in South Carolina, because as of right now in South Carolina, psychological incarceration is not even considered for a legal separation or divorce due to domestic abuse or violence. The only thing that is considered legally separated in divorce in this arena is actual physical cruelty. And so what happens with psychological incarceration, there is no bruise outwardly, and it makes it very difficult to prove a case, which is why the young woman stays in this relationship so long, because she is literally incarcerated. Literally, she cannot free herself because you can't explain it. You're not aware of it. You're not educated about it. And you really are not in a position to become your own self-advocate. What's your thoughts, Mr. Jones?
Well, like I said, we definitely need that legislation because somebody's got to step in and help. I mean, it's we need advocates. There's just too much going on that's just pushed under the rug.
Yes, sir. And then it just it's really about awareness. And I really
Mhm.
appreciate you coming on Unlock What's Inside You Community Forum to talk to community supporters such as yourself. Is how we start the dialogue, is how we get the awareness out. Because we brought a multitude of bullet points today, and I'm just going to quickly recap. We talked about that there was 42% of women that own businesses in the United States as a whole. We talked about that there's 13 million women in the United States. 20% of the 13 million are African American women. And when we look at in Florence, South Carolina, especially right there where that revitalization is going on downtown, we have 43% are small business owners. 35.13 are African American. And out of that 35.13, we know for a fact 1 in 4 are directly impacted. So therefore, we know that loss of productivity is happening due to psychological incarceration. And that's right there in Florence. Also, we also know that 44% out of this, even just this small group of small business owners right there in Florence, 44% of those that we're talking about will have a higher risk of heart disease right there in Florence. So I wanted to just bring it home to where you are because you're a business owner in that area. Any final thoughts as we wrap up today for Unlock What's Inside You Community Forum podcast?
I guess the last thing to throw in would be, I think sometimes one of the things that kind of helps to falsely hold someone in a situation or relationship like that is they feel like they don't have anywhere to go. They won't be able to have insurance or won't be able to pay. It is extremely easy to get, if not zero cost, almost no cost coverage. That's the good major medical coverage that we can help those folks with. So if that's what's holding them there, they can get help and go get, their not have to worry about, losing their insurance if they're losing a relationship or something like that. So there's so many different things that can be done, um, and protections that are out there available. So just let them know that, there is help. You just have to reach out for it. It's there. Don't be fooled that it's not. It is definitely available.
So let me make sure I'm understanding, Mr. Jones. You're saying that if a woman does have to leave, because obviously in this process, especially with the intimate partner, most likely that intimate partner will freeze assets.
Hmm.
So we are talking about a population of women between 45 and 55. They have the highest rate of psychological incarceration. So we're talking about a woman that is very well established, has a job, even a business, working, has already acquired multiple homes, and all of a sudden she has to leave. So yes,
Hmm.
insurance would be number one on her mind. Give us one source here on this podcast that she could go to. We know we're going to refer her to the Master's Choice, but
Hmm.
one program, give that to our viewers on what program that would be that they could look up on the online. We know we're going to actually get you to give your phone number and everything as well. But what's that
Hmm.
one program?
Well, the primary one for that situation would be run through the government, just healthcare.gov. Um,
So you're talking about the marketplace.
yeah, the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, that website is so impossible to navigate properly. That's why you need to find a good agent, regardless of where you are. But we can help them navigate that system. What we generally do is we'll start off with an assessment, try to find out. Sometimes we can actually get them. They'll qualify for Medicaid through the state, and that would be great because again, there's no cost. And if that's not a possibility, then we'll help them get some marketplace coverage. And like I said, most of the time, if it's not zero premium, it's very low, with $3 to $5, $10 a month. I mean, it's all income based, but we'll walk through that on a case by case basis to make sure they
Yeah,
get help. Hmm.
absolutely. I'm glad that you did that. So, Mr. David, go ahead and give us your location, your phone number, and how everyone can get in contact with you.
You can reach us through our website, themasterschoice.org. Our phone number here at the office is 843-942-0447. You can come by the office. We're at 2217 West Driftwood Avenue, which is in Florence, which is right here next door to the Florence Toyota. So we're easy to find right here in the center of Florence, not far from the interstate. But anyway, they reach out to us, we'll be set up a time to talk with them by phone or meet them in person, whatever we want to do.
All right. Well, we thank you very much for all of your support, Mr. Jones. And we thank all of our visitors and watchers. We do encourage you to visit our website. Here it is again, www.unlockwhatsinsideyou.com. Click on the Liberation Project Partnership and be a part of this fight against psychological incarceration. We thank you so much in advance, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good night.